Hey guys, this is John with the Author Channel update for Saturday, July 13th, 2024 here in Los Angeles, and I am here to promote my comic book and audiobooks. This is Trials of Ash, The Legacy of a Mad Scientist, and The Legend of Ashley Fox. They're both here for free on YouTube as audiobooks, free for you to listen to. 26 hours of great, magnificent science fiction, action, and adventure. It's really what it is. Sci-fi fantasy, I suppose is the thing to say. This is the comic book that I drew with my best friend from animation school. And I laid this out for him, and then he took it and redrew it because he's a lot better and faster than I am. Even before we got into animation school, he had worked as a storyboard artist on Marvel Comics' The Incredible Hulk, the TV show out here in Los Angeles. Not on, you don't do storyboards for comic books. But I had drawn thumbnails of this, 8.5 by 11s of this, and then he redrew it on 11 by 17 and did a much better job. He's so much faster and better than I am. And because of my political opinions, he asked me not to say his name on this channel and not to include his name in the description, not to have a link to his site. So that is what it is. Next thing I want to show you guys is the best thing I got out of animation school was this handout, Follow Through in a composition or in a picture. And this is about how to bring the viewer's eye in, how to move the viewer's eye around a scene. And this is super important, whether it's TV, comics, any kind of image, painting. This applies to painting too. And I see this, John Buscema is really good at this. I'll include this as a PDF below in the description because this is the one thing I held on to. I even went and bought the filmmaking book Shot by Shot, thinking that was where it came from, but it's not. I don't know where it's come from. Neighbor's dog wants to get in on the conversation. He's so lonely. Okay, so what else we have today? We're gonna do Wildwood Tarot last. This is Conan the Barbarian 76. And I watched an interview with Donald F. Glut, because that's how they named him. I can't just call him Don Glut. They named him as Donald F. Glut from Film Courage. I will put a link to that also in the description, where he talks about the Marvel method is for the writer to give, or the editor, to give the artist a couple paragraph synopsis. The artist goes off and draws the entire issue, and then the writer, Roy Thomas or whomever, has to literally fix it in post. And that is not the way it should be done. Granted, Marvel, you could say they're super successful. Working on this with my best friend, I see the issue. Writers invest a lot of time and energy, illustrators invest a lot of time and energy in learning how to draw. They don't invest a lot of time and energy in learning how to tell a story. And it's apparent. It's apparent in cartoons, comics, and the ones who do invest a lot of time, like Alan Moore, produce superior works. I invested a decade learning how to write short stories. Every chapter in these novels is a short story. That was my goal. Every chapter has to be fulfilling as its own bit, because every issue of a comic could be someone's first issue. Every commercial break, every episode of a TV show might be someone's first episode. You always want to be putting your best work forward. And if you're able to internalize storytelling rules, you're able to do that. And those storytelling rules are really simple. Every scene is a short story. Every short story has to be life-changing for the main character. The main character has to be the character who takes action to resolve the dilemma. A dilemma is a problem that doesn't necessarily make your life better once it's solved. If you don't have a life-changing dilemma, you don't have a story. If you don't have a main character that can grow through solving that dilemma, you don't have a story or a scene. And if it isn't a life-changing dilemma in a scene, you don't need it and you can cut it. Now look, I know that that's a big ask and that it's not always carried through. It's not prevalent in every scene in every film. A good film can get away with filler if it's great. Conan the Barbarian, the movie, the whole first half of the movie, until he gets the sword and cuts the chains off his ankle, he's not really a he's not really a main character. He's really kind of just going through the motions. He's not making choices. He chooses to push the wheel. He chooses to fight in the gladiatorial games, but he doesn't have a choice. His only other option is to die. That's not really a choice. But when he cuts that thing off his ankle, that's when he chooses to seek revenge. That's when his story starts. He frees Subadai. The first thing he does is free Subadai, the archer, who is there well, that's not the first thing he does. The first thing he does is meet the witch. And he kills the wolves. As soon as you see him after he gets the sword, he's wearing all those wolf pelts. Now, granted, that wouldn't have had time to tan them and everything, but it's still a nice touch. So in this one, Conan looks like he's just killed an alligator, and there's a heron in the background over here, which is a really nice touch. And in the upcoming pages, we're going to see more of that. This is a to be continued. I don't have 75. This is 76. Conan's girlfriend, Belit, has been kidnapped by hawkmen who ride giant hawks, and he has to go find her. So we see, for some reason they mention these herons. I guess they're flying in the general area. And he also finds a mask of one of the hawkmen. They wear these hawk heads. And so he finds it and puts it on, knowing that it will help him enter the city. And when he gets there, they let him in. Is it right here? It's really pretty quick. Oh, no. This is Belit. This is Belit's story. So we cut to Belit's story. We're not going to have Conan for a few minutes. Belit and this other girl are painted a dusky brown. They put something on their skin to make them look like the Stygians. And the Stygians have captured them. These hawkmen have captured them, and they're, of course, going to deliver her to the king, which is a lot like the last episode we read. The last episode was Belit being delivered to a king. Here's the king. He looks a little bit like Muhammad Ali. He's Egyptian, and he and his brother is the temple priest, or the main wizard for this village. And this village is in a situation where Luxor knows who they are, but they leave them alone, as long as they don't become too strong, and as long as they don't become too weak. So these guys are walking a tightrope of foreign interference in their land. And Conan and Belit, they know who Belit is. They quickly sort out who she is. The art is amazing. I can't compliment the art enough. I'm a writer at heart, so that's naturally what I go to look for this. All I see is magnificent art. It's really hard for me to criticize. I did hear something recently that if you can get two characters to overlap each other, do it. Don't draw characters in full. Let them overlap each other. So that's, and in these panels, you have to put a lot of information in each panel. So here Conan is walking past the main temple, which we see on the cover, him pushing down this falcon onto the people below. And this is another GKEC. I suspect that's Gary Capwise and Ernie Chan, and Ernie Chan is splitting the pay with Gary Capwise, but I don't know. This looks like Gary Capwise's art. So further on here we have, what do we have? We have Conan getting in and wandering about. We have the other slave girl who was given to this is an interesting bit. Back here, the two brothers argue over which of them gets to take Belit and which of them gets to take Belit's serving girl. And the king demands that he will keep Belit and that the priest, his brother, can have the serving girl. And so here the priest and the serving girl are discussing what's going on. It's kind of just exposition. Meanwhile, Conan outside has started a fight. Let's see if that's what this is. No, this is a flashback. As you can see, John Buscema has done his bold black lines around the flashback, the obligatory flashback of the episode. And it explains how the two brothers came to rule this small city-state. Belit is in and then meanwhile, Conan starts a fight down in the street, and the priest hears about it. They look down, they can see Conan fighting with guards, and the king comes down to intervene himself. This is kind of interesting. This guy didn't even bother to color in. I think it's still George Russo's on colors. He just gave one flat panel to that panel, which is fine, I guess. More ads. This is, again, only a 17-page comic like the last one. Now, this is an interesting thing. If 22 pages pay more than 17 pages, do you think Marvel is selling this for less because it's less pages? 17 pages is a way to cut their artists' pay and keep demanding the same amount of pay from the audience. Maybe they hadn't even reached 22 pages at this point. Regardless, Conan throws a flower pot at these bad guys. What else? Oh, so this is where Conan is getting chased. He gets chased up a wall, throws down a flower pot. Over here, he sees the giant falcon statue and discovers his plan, which we saw on the cover. So another 2 pages of ads. Star Trek. Star Trek was so good, even though it was written by a former Jew cop. I believe Gene Roddenberry was Jewish. But he did a lot of good with this, and he wouldn't have gotten the job if he wasn't, let's be honest. So here Conan pushes down the Temple Hawk onto the people chasing him. And he eventually gets captured, cornered. What happens is the king threatens to slit Bellet's throat if Conan doesn't stop fighting. And that is that. I believe that's the end of the issue. So here we have Spider-Man and Madam Web for Hostess Twinkies, Hostess Cupcakes. I'm going to give that up for another second. And then, so yeah, we do have one more page, but not much comes of it. Conan is captured. He gets thrown into a pit, an oubliette is what they used to call them. The French have them as trapdoors, oubliette. It's really kind of like the hole in Sparta, where, this is Sparta. He gets thrown down there, and there's this giant down there in chains. And that's the end of this episode. We don't know what else happens, so that's that. It's good. It read well. The art was amazing. I really loved John Buscema's art. He's one of a kind. How to draw comics the Marvel way, right? So here is Wildwood Tarot, Her and the Horned God, the Green Man, and the book, The Hooded Man. And today's card is the Three of Arrows, Jealousy. If this isn't what we're facing in the modern world today, you hate us because you ain't us, as Amusement said. Amusement recently passed away, I found out. He's a pro-white advocate, and they hate us because they ain't us. And that's very true. Jealousy. What's going on in the world today is about jealousy. Jealousy. I understand it. I really do. I grew up out in the Midwest, and life was awesome there. We had no blacks around, no savages, no crime. The degenerate white kids were the biggest problem anybody had. Kids riding dirt bikes. Nobody really did graffiti. There was little problems, but you grow out of that by 20. Oh, this is amazing. In this book, Conan is only 23 years old. His age is given, 23 summers. He puts everything he has into pushing over this falcon. And they say he's only 23 summers old. So it's I almost doubled that myself. So yeah, they shot Trump today. And missed. Now, having been a former Marine, I guess that guy was only like 130 yards away. Being a former Marine, I can, at 500 yards with iron sights, choose whether to put it in your eyes, your nose, your teeth, your throat, your sternum. And that's easy for me. The Marine Corps taught us how to do that. Apparently, this guy didn't have any training. I think it was set up from the inside. The SS should have secured, the Secret Service should have secured that building, and they didn't deliberately. The police had him in their sights and didn't fire until he fired. There were civilians on the ground pointing him out to police and Secret Service who did nothing. We are in a civil war right now. I want final solutions. I want all Jews out of this country. Dual citizens have to leave. If you're of Jewish ancestry, you have to leave. You have to go to Madagascar. You have to get the fuck out. Once we get a world without rule of law, I'm going on a campaign of murder and arson like no one has ever fucking seen. Fuck you all.